All right, guys, so the last conic section we're looking at is going to be the parabola. We've done the circle, we've done the ellipse, we've done the hyperbola, so the last one is the parabola. This is when we have this double cone and we come in at an angle without touching the top, or I could come in with the plane like this and not touch the bottom part of the cone. That's how we form the parabola. We've done parabolas earlier in the year, but we're just doing them a little bit different form. The definition of a parabola is that every point on this parabola that we have is going to be the same distance from the focus as it is from the directrix. And it's always going to be p units away. So it's p units away from the vertex to the focus here, and then from here it's going to be p units away. Now, as we go out here, it's not going to be necessarily p units away, but it's going to be the same distance. Here and here is going to be the same distance there. The next thing we're going to look at is the standard graphing form. If we have x getting squared, now this is a different way than we looked at it before. When we did these earlier in the year, we put the squared term on the right and the non-squared on the left. But a lot of times on the ACT, they'll write it like this and try to confuse you. So I want you to have seen it this way as well. X is still getting squared though. So when it's written like this, it's either going to open up like that, or if p is negative, then it would open down. Okay? When y is getting squared, if p is positive, it's going to open to the right. Or if p is negative, it's going to open to the left. The way I remember this is when x is squared, I have two x's. See how I have two x's? When y gets squared, I end up with two y's. I don't know, it just kind of helps me. The vertex is always going to be hk. The focus is always p units away from the vertex. It's always inside the parabola. So like right here would be the focus. Right here might be the focus. The directrix is always p units away from the vertex, and it's outside of the parabola. So here would be the directrix, and here would be the directrix. The endpoints of the focal chord is a distance of 2p away from the focus. So like this distance here is 2p, and so is this distance here 2p. All right, so we're going to have to find all of this stuff. Let's look at the first one. So the first thing I want to think about is the vertex. What is it? 0, 0. So we're going to plot 0, 0. The focus, I have to know what p is. This number right here is always 4p. So 4p is 8, p is 2. So my focus has to be 2 units inside of the parabola. Which way is this going to open? Up, down, left, or right? Up. So I go 2 units up. There's going to be our focus as 0, 2. Now the focal chord is going to have a total length of 8 units. So how far am I going to go in each direction? 4. So I'm going to go 4 to the right, and I'm going to go 4 to the left. And that's going to be the way my parabola is going to look. So those focal chord endpoints right there are going to be at 4, 2, and negative 4, 2. The directrix has to be p units outside of the parabola from the vertex. So if I go out this way 2 units, that puts me right here. What's the equation of that line? Right. And then the axis of symmetry comes right here through the focus and through the vertex. And so that line right there is going to actually be x equals 0. And see how we can see that x is 0 in both of those points? So that's the reason it's x equals 0, because x is always 0 there. All right, let's look at another parabola. So this time we have x equals negative 1/4 y squared. We still have that same vertex, 0, 0. Okay, focus this time. Well, if y is getting squared, I'm going to have 2 y's, so it's going to open right or left. Negative makes it left. The p-value is going to be negative 1. So I'm going to go 1 unit to the left. That's a 4, so I know I'm going to go up 2 and down 2 to create the width of that focal chord. So my focus then was at -1, 0. My focal chord endpoints are at -1, 2 and -1, -2. My directrix, I have to go the opposite direction. What's the equation of that line? X equals 1. You don't really have to find the axis of symmetry, but it would go this way. What would that be? We'll go ahead and find it. Yeah. All right, any questions so far? All right, let's go and let's look at one where we have to do a little more work. Okay, so when it's written like this, we're going to have to do completing the square. This is already in a nice form for us. So I'm going to leave a little space there so that I can complete the square, because this has to be a quantity squared. We're going to take half of this and square it. And what do we get? So I'm going to add 9 to each side. Another name for this would be x minus 3 squared. And this is going to be 4y minus 20. Out of these two, I have to factor out a 4. Well, that basic form we have, that graphing form, we have to have the coefficient in front of the squared term, not the y term. So I'm going to divide this by 4. So I'm going to have 1/4 over here now. Okay, so now where's our vertex going to be?
3, 5.
All right. I'm going to change my axes so I can fit that on here. So 3, 5 is going to be our vertex. Okay, our focus. Which way is this going to open? Up, down, left, or right? Up. So I'm going to have to go up. How far? 1. And then I'm going to have to go right 2 and left 2 to get those focal chord endpoints.
Is it always 2?
Nope, it's going to be whatever P is 1, it's going to be twice that. So if I look at this number, that's how long the total is through there. So my focus again was at 3, 6. My focal chord endpoints, from that point right there, I had to go to the left 2. And I had to go to the right 2. And then the directrix, I'm going to have to go down P units. So that's going to be at y equals 4. Questions? All right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, what am I going to have to do here first? Oh. Yeah, the y squared and the 2y is good, but I want that 10x on the other side and that 9 on the other side. So now we're going to have to take half of that and square it, so I'm going to add 1 here and add 1 here. So another name for this one's going to be y plus 1 squared. For this one, I'm going to have negative 10x plus 10, so I have to factor out the coefficient of x no matter what it is. So I'm going to factor out a negative 10. Be careful that you factor out the negative. Okay. Now in front of the non-squared term, I just want to have a 1. So I'm going to have to divide both sides by negative 10. So that's going to be a negative 1/10 there now. Okay, so what's the vertex going to be? 1, negative 1. Good. Make sure you go x, y, x, y. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that. There's our vertex. Okay, so to find our p value, p is going to have to be equal to, this must always, negative. So we're going to have to say 4p is negative 10, so therefore p is going to be negative 2.5. 10 fourths is 2.5. So which direction am I going to go 2.5? Up, down, left, or right?
Down.
Nope, left. So, because y is getting squared, so I have to have two y's, so I'm going to go left. So that focus then is going to now be at, what is that? Negative 1.5 comma negative 1. See that? Now my entire focal chord has to have a length of 10. So that means I'm going to have to go up 5 and down 5. So here's what the parabola has to look like. Okay, and so then my focal chord endpoints, my x did not change, but I had to add 5 to that. My x did not change, and I had to subtract 5 from that. And lastly, for our directrix, we have to go over 2.5 units in the other direction. Write that down. What's that equation going to be? Good. Let me go back and show you something real quick here that's kind of neat. When I had this in the form y plus 1 squared equals negative 10 times x minus 1, remember how I had it like that at one point? And then I wanted to take the square root. I wonder what the calculator will do if there's a negative under that radical, though. Do you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to solve this for y equals. So then I would have, I just wanted to put it into the calculator to show you how to graph it. Let's see what happens. I think that negative 10 might be an issue. And then I would subtract 1. Can you kind of see why it would end up being that if I solved it for y? I'm just curious how it would handle that. Yeah, because I would also have to do the negative of it. Let's see. Oh, it can do it, can it? There we go. Okay. And so if I wanted to like check these focal chord endpoints, maybe I felt like they weren't right, what I could do is plug in negative 1.5. So I could say second calculate a value when x is negative 1.5. And it tells me that it's 4. Oh my gosh, this is what we talked about in the, oh, that's right, isn't it? It's 4. Yeah, that's right. I was thinking that we had it higher than that, but that's good. Okay. And then if I check it again, I can say negative 1.5. And now I just want to say for the other one. So I hop down to this one, and that's at negative 6. Oh, good. See how that works? Okay, cool. Let's go to part C now. Write the equation of the parabola if the vertex is negative 4, 2, and the directrix is x equals negative 6. All right. I'm kind of visual. I don't know about you, but I need to see what's going on here. So I like to do just a little sketch real quick. There's our vertex. Directrix is at x equals negative 6. Okay, so that's the way it looks. So which way is it going to open?
Right.
It's going to open to the right. So what's going to get squared? So I'm going to have to do y minus 2 quantity squared equals x plus 4. See how we know that part for sure? Now this is going to have to be 1 over 4p. So what's p going to be? What's that distance? 2. So what's going to be right here then? 1 over 8. And so that would be the equation. All right. Last one here. Write the equation of the parabola if the focus now is negative 4, 2. So now this is our focus, and the directrix is at y equals negative 6. So here's our directrix. We've got our focus up there. What are we going to have to do on this one to find the vertex?
Find the vertex?
Yeah, we got to find the point that's in between these two. So if this is at 2 and this is at -6, how far apart are they? So then what am I going to do? Go down. Yeah, so right there is going to be my vertex. Okay, so our vertex then is going to be where? -4, -2, right? And what's the p-value going to be? How far is it from here to here or here to here? Either one. 4. Okay, so then we're going to have what's getting squared, x or y? So it's going to be x plus 4 squared. What's going to go in front of here? 1/16 equals what? Y plus 2, right. Okay. All right, any questions with that? Not too bad, right? We did those earlier in the year, so shouldn't be too bad.